Hello everybody, and welcome back to another one of those videos where I talk about updates for Dwarf Fortress coming from Toady1 and Kitfox. Today we have Adventure Mode Beta 20. It has some features for both Fortress Mode as well as Adventure Mode, and at the end there's a big Q&A that Kitfox posted, which I will be reading in full. It covers questions about future development, as well as the current state of Kitfox's involvement with the game. And just so that I do not snipe any of you out and you're not disappointed at the end, they have indefinitely delayed the Mac version. But I'll talk about that at the end of the video. First thing I would like to say is, what do you think of the new coat of paint I put on the place? This is Jurist McScribs. He's our editor. I think he did a fine job. What do you think there, bud? Yep, no, I agree. I think it looks great. So, without further ado, let's dive into the patch notes. Of course, all of the links are in the description if you would like to check them out yourself. The first and biggest update coming to the beta branch is the quest log and information screen in Adventure Mode. This screen allows you to keep track of every single notable NPC that you have encountered, as well as where you met them. It also allows you to keep track of quests and rumors that you've overheard. Anything your character talks about, overhears, or encounters while wandering around in the streets in Adventure Mode will be chronicled here. Locations of monsters, quests that you've accepted, as well as points of interest, and events that you've taken part in, such as violence, allowing you to better keep track of and direct yourself within Adventure Mode. This is the screen that I've been waiting for before actually starting to embark on more ambitious quests, which means my quest to recover the blockade's shield is actually now possible. The second thing of note here is the child and baby dwarf sprites. These are awesome. I think that the children are absolutely hysterically ugly. I've seen some people a little bit mixed on the way that they look, but I think them being ugly suits them, frankly, considering how disliked they are by a large portion of the Dwarf Fortress community. Also, the baby sprites in Fortress Mode just look like Jack from The Incredibles, which I personally think is hysterical. There's many new fruit, flower, and leaf sprites for the trees and plant life. This is something that, as far as I know, has been done for a while, alongside of the child and baby sprites. And it's just been a matter of Tarn getting the opportunity to get back and work on it and implement them. Something I will note, which I also noted in the Future of the Fortress video I did earlier this month, is that Tarn seems very happy with the current state of development. Considering the man's getting married soon and moving to a new country, I think that's putting a lot of excitement in his step. Tarn has a habit of really cranking out updates quickly when he's in a good mood. I have a feeling things are going to drastically speed up as soon as Adventure Mode is done. In fact, from my perspective at least, it's already seeming like it is. There's a lot of things bubbling up behind the scenes. The next major bullet point here is updated dwarf and clothing sprites. The dwarves look a little different, and I will note that artifact weapons now appear on dwarves when they're equipped. There are still some sprites that are missing images, things with extra adjectives attached to them specifically. However, this is a massive improvement for those of us still playing the vanilla game who are not using the modded expanded options. And their shields are at a new angle. And every single weapon sprite, from what I can tell, has been updated. I think they look awesome. Little bit more of a grim look, and they look like they have more depth. Less flat, if you will. What do you think? There was also a pretty important bug fix here, which I have been unaware of for a very long time, which is they made good and bad thoughts for tombs work. Currently, only dwarves with very high value tombs would get good thoughts from it. Everybody else would just kind of be indifferent to their existence. Whereas now, if you assign a tomb to a dwarf, they will get good thoughts for it. And nobles will now get negative thoughts if they don't have a tomb. Essentially, tombs work now for making dwarves happier. Apparently this has been broken for about 10 years, and it's good that it's finally been fixed. And then this is the last one, seems kind of minor. It's something that I never personally encountered, which is they fixed an error with portraits. Supposedly it was related to mandibles, but I never saw it. Kitfox also notes that it's quite possible you'll run into problems with hair and clothing colors, so keep an eye out for adjustments, and if you spot any, let them know so that they can make those adjustments quicker. Personally, from my perspective, the game is in a really good place. Fortress Mode runs better than it ever has, the UI has been improved significantly since the initial launch, and the new pass on art for trees and plant life looks awesome. If nothing else, it helps drastically with immersion and makes the game look a lot better. And as far as new art and looks go, if you have thoughts on the new look for this show, let me know down in the comments section. I'd love to know. So would Jurist McScribs. And shoutouts to Cooler_SK, who did all of the art that you see on screen. Didn't he, Scribs? Yes. Now, Scribs would like to let you all know that the next thing that we're going to read is a Kitfox frequently asked questions. This is a series of questions that they get asked constantly on the Steam forums and in other locations. So let's read this Q&A. How is Kitfox Games involved with Dwarf Fortress development? Kitfox gets the game on Steam and helps with promotion and handles the money side of things. Technically, the artists audio folks, and programmer working on Dwarf Fortress are contracted through Kitfox, but we are managed by Bay 12 Games. Kitfox does not directly assist in the game's development in any way, other than the occasional playtesting or coordination. Tarn and Zach are the creators of Dwarf Fortress, and we want to preserve and protect their vision. Besides, even if we wanted to send our programmers to help with Dwarf Fortress, they wouldn't be able to help due to the nature of the game's uniquely built codebase. Our job is to help Tarn and Zach grow Dwarf Fortress to fruition on their own terms. We take care of as many distractions and relieve as much stress as we can. It is not our role to tell Tarn how to work on his game. We do not force deadlines on him, and we do not have shareholders to persuade. We believe this is the only way to sustain Dwarf Fortress development in a healthy way that will allow Tarn and Zach to work the way they want to on the game, ideally for the rest of all of our lives. The game released in 2022 and is selling well. Why are updates so slow? We can't and won't hire a bunch of programmers to make updates go faster, even if it's a huge project so far. We've added exactly one programmer to the team, that's Putnam, who was selected based on an extensive pre-existing understanding of the codebase and a relationship with Tarn. Dwarf Fortress is the single most complex simulation ever created, mostly by one programmer, and it was started in 2006. Work on this labor of love is necessarily based on trust, and we are optimizing to make the best game according to Tarn's vision, no matter how long it takes, rather than trying to optimize for speed. Modders have the freedom to move fast and break things, and we'll continue to support them. This is a lifetime project. This is not a game that will ever be finished, but our pace is focused in the long term. Updates will come slowly, but steadily, forever. Selling the game on Steam does not change the way that Tarn and Zach will continue to develop. Dwarf Fortress is not like any other game, on or off Steam, and was far ahead of its time, partially because of its unique development approach. We know it can be frustrating to wait, but we will not interfere, just because some fans are impatient. Why aren't there any updates for Fortress mode right now, when it's the main game mode? Many of the fixes going into Adventure mode will improve Fortress mode, but you're right that the time between improvements for Fortress mode are longer right now. Adventure mode has been important to Dwarf Fortress for a very long time, and it has its own cult following of fans who prefer its playstyle, as well as the interplay between the two modes. Tarn has to focus on completing the beta before returning to regular development. Putnam is continuing to develop other features and fix bugs, but there's a lifetime of work to do. How are updates going to work when Adventure mode is complete? And what are the next updates after Adventure mode is complete? After Adventure mode leaves beta, development of both modes can proceed in parallel. Fortress mode and Adventure mode rest on the same world simulation, so updates are often shared, but each mode has its quirks and special features, and we'll be improving them both. You can expect Fortress mode to be made more rich with each major update, which will be more regular than in years past, rather than waiting for literal years to get giant sweeping changes, and we're looking forward to it. Why isn't this known bug from 8 years ago fixed by now? Sometimes it's hard to fix, and sometimes it's just not impacting most players. Sometimes it's related to a feature that's planned to have big changes or improvements soon anyway, so it's more efficient to look at it then. Maybe check the bug database for more information, because the bug wranglers might have interesting discussions you can read about it, or contribute information of your own to help track it down. Why are you selling merch or posting community updates when there haven't been any patches in a while? Currently, our only merch is designed and sold by Fangamer, who takes care of everything for us. Tarn and Kitfox make final approval on designs before they are sold, but otherwise have no involvement in that process. Community updates help us inform players of things outside of development, but related to Dwarf Fortress. These updates are written by the community manager, Alexandra, and sometimes Tanya, and do not take away from time spent working on development. We try not to do these too much, and we understand how it's frustrating to receive these updates when you are hoping for patch notes or updates to the game. What about the Mac build? After investigating the programming requirements, we've decided it's best to cancel the Mac build for the time being. Porting the game over to Mac would take significant time and resources away from improvements to Fortress and Adventure mode. That doesn't make sense for us to dedicate right now, given the low number of Mac-only users. There is a significant amount of work that would be required for maintaining a Mac build that would delay all patches in the future. And as we know, you all want patches faster. We aren't saying it will never happen, but do not count on it anytime soon. We are very sorry to all of the Mac users who have been waiting patiently for an update on this. Thank you to everyone who has joined us on this long development journey and have supported us thus far. Dwarf Fortress is truly a unique game that requires a unique but unconventional approach to the development, and we hope to continue being transparent about where that journey takes us. See you for the next patch. Kitfox. So there's a lot to unpack here. The first major thing that I have to say is I'm a little bit sad that they had to make this FAQ. A lot of these questions are addressing harsh criticism that they receive from a minority of players on the Steam forums. Just by reading my comments section, I see a fraction of these comments. There are people who are very unsatisfied with the development of Dwarf Fortress for one reason or another. Everything from disliking the changes made that are allowing the premium version to exist in the first place, the general dislike of change, as well as the slow progression of the development. There's also a bubbling small group of people who are very unsatisfied with the game right now due to the fact that Adventure Mode is currently only available if you've purchased the game. And there are some people who have said that they will never do that, as they've been supporting the game in a crowdfunding basis for years. So if they want to have access to the current development and the beta builds, it's now something they have to pay for, which in a way, from some people's perspective, is breaking that promise. That's the first thing that's really causing a disturbance on the Steam forums. The second thing is people misunderstand the amount of involvement that publishers have. And I think Kitfox gets a lot of criticism on this. People are used to major publishers and the way they interact with the development of a game. Often publishers have complete control over the IP, or complete control over the direction, or partial at the very least. This is not the case with Kitfox. Kitfox is also taking a much smaller portion of the game's revenue than the vast majority of publishers in existence. Essentially, Kitfox is running PR and assisting in minor cases where needed and doing paperwork and payroll. Outside of that, they're just simply there to run the Steam forums and wait for Tarn to patch the game. When this patch actually came out, I heard from credible sources that Tarn was in the process of moving and then released the patch without giving them notice or sending them the screenshots or patch notes. And while personally I find this very amusing, this is the sort of thing that you would not be allowed to do in a more conventional publisher-game developer relationship. So for people like me, this is a net positive. It means that Dwarf Fortress can just continue being Dwarf Fortress, warts and all. But I do understand the frustration of people used to conventional game development and conventional publisher-developer partnerships who have purchased their way into Dwarf Fortress. This thing that I'm about to say directly hurts me as a content creator, because it is in my best interest to make you play the game as much as goddamn possible. And that is, if you like Dwarf Fortress and you can't wait for the next update, I understand. But remember, there's a lot of other games out there, and Dwarf Fortress isn't going anywhere. If you already own Dwarf Fortress, there's other games that you could check out in the meantime. Let me just throw in a real quick recommendation here. Odd Realm releases out of early access the day that I am releasing this video. Odd Realm is a small indie game made by a Canadian indie developer. The game is heavily inspired by Dwarf Fortress. It has Z levels, it has trees, it has mineable resources. But there's one thing that it does that's very unique. It has multiple playable races that play extraordinarily differently from one another. It has written dialogue and written characters. The way I've described it for years is it's like Terraria to Minecraft if Dwarf Fortress was Minecraft in this discussion. It's a game taking similar ideas from Dwarf Fortress, but implementing them in a radically different manner that is incredibly charming. That's just one example of a game that you could spend your time with when you are not playing Dwarf Fortress. When Adventure Mode is finished and released, as Kitfox notes in the Q&A, development will speed up. And you might be wondering, well, why is that? Currently, Dwarf Fortress is actually patching about once a month, in some cases every 2 to 3 weeks, in the beta branch. These are largely patches that are going into Adventure Mode development. However, things that are actively being developed into Adventure Mode are being backported into Fortress Mode. This is how we got the updated Dwarven sprites. This is also where the little arrows indicating whether or not a dwarf was in mid-air or lying down came from. This is also where the portraits came in. And all the while, Putnam is bug fixing in the background. If the mode that you don't prefer is currently being developed for Dwarf Fortress, the way I've always thought of it is it's like having engine updates. Every now and again, an MMO will release an engine update, and the graphics will get better. Because both Fortress Mode and Adventure Mode live on the same engine, updating one directly affects the playability of the other. Like that time that Putnam fixed poisons and now suddenly Forgotten Beasts are way stronger. At the end of the day, if you enjoyed Dwarf Fortress, and you're in it for the long haul, none of this should be a surprise to you. But if you're a newcomer and this is new to you, remember, Dwarf Fortress isn't a game that many people should play non-stop forever, unless you're a very peculiar kind of person, like myself. And it's okay to take breaks and enjoy games vicariously through others, through people like Krug Smash, Hoodie Hair, and my own recent large film-like video, which I'm working on a sequel to, by the way. And as far as the Mac build goes, guys, I hate to break it to you, but you are a very small portion of the Steam user base. I've seen this happen with other games before, and it always kind of sucks, especially as somebody who is now playing games on Linux. I feel like you guys are underserved, and I get it, but at the same time, the game does run pretty flawlessly within Wine, and I think that we can all kind of nod our heads and understand that if it would actually slow down development as much as they are suggesting here, it's probably for the best. Thank you very much for watching this unconventional Dwarf Fortress news video. I hope that you liked the new art around the place. Like I said, yours did a really good job. Shoutouts to Cooler, once again, for doing all the art here. And if you like the work that I do and want to support me, the best way to do that is through my newsletter. It's on my blog site, which can be found at blindirl.com, and has a Patreon-like setup, where you could give me monthly or annual funding. Of course, that's optional, and the free version does still give you access to my weekly newsletter, where I am posting updates on things that I'm working on, as well as just talking about the performance of things, and in some cases, my hobbies. I also had a short write-up on a little game called Approaching Infinity, including a little text interview with the developer himself. I think it's an interesting little read, and I'll link it in the description. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.